everybody, and welcome to the patch 12.12b and patch 12.13 preview. Now, patch 12.12b is a hotfix. These notes are going live tomorrow. At what time? I don't know. I don't work for Riot. So this video is going to be split into two different parts, and we're going to try to go over them as quickly as I can. The first part is going to be going over the hotfix. Now, these will be live tomorrow, so these will go live as is. These are in yellow. We're going to go over those here just first. After that, we're going to go over the patch 12.13 preview, and I'm going to go over those in a little bit more in depth, and I'm going to give you my thoughts because those changes are still up for like actual debate and things like that. Like we can, you know, potentially I can actually give my feedback and things like that. For those who are wondering about the thumbnails, you guys keep clicking on them, so I just keep making them weirder, and then you guys just keep clicking on them more. So we're kind of in a cold war, you and I. Okay, so before we begin, I'm going to try to give you guys as quickly as I can. So if you're only interested in like 10-15 minutes of a video, just stick here. We'll go over the hotfix. Okay, so make sure to like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to give feedback, all that good stuff. Thank you, everybody. So for Shaco, his backstab, the stabby stab from the back, that one is getting its AD ratio buffed. His Q AD ratio, that's when he goes stealth and then stabby stabs you from the back, that one is also getting its AD ratio buffed. His W cooldown, that's the Jack in the Box, that's when he puts them in every single brush and you constantly take damage, that one is getting its cooldown reduced. The W duration AP ratio, now that means when he has more ability power, his Jack in the Boxes last longer. So the AP ratio is going from 5% to 100, or sorry, to 10%, 100%, okay. Yeah, so for every 100 AP, he will then get 10 seconds extra duration as Jack in the Boxes. So that's basically it. Shaco will do more damage if he's AD, and AP Shaco will get more Jack in the Boxes. I'm not looking forward to that, but I'm not particularly grief-stricken. Shaco's not particularly amazing right now. What does strike me with grief are these Katarina buffs. The AP ratio on her passive is going up. That's when she jumps on the dagger and it somehow always hits you no matter how far away you go. That one is getting its AP ratio up by a decent chunk. Her Q damage, that's when she chicks a dagger at you. When she yeets the dagger at you and it goes bounce, 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 that one is getting its flat damage up and its AP ratio up. The AD ratio per dagger, per attack speed or some shit. I don't know. They're buffing AD Katarina on like her passive or something. I don't know. It doesn't really matter. No one gives a shit. The on hit ratio on her passive is then also going up. So Gnasher's Tooth, Katarina is getting the passive damage buffed, the on hit on the passive buff, so double buffed, and then her Q damage also buffed. So AP Katarina, which is not even underperforming that much, is getting massively buffed. AD Katarina is getting minorly buffed, even though it's basically useless. I'm not sure, but there you go. Caitlyn is getting a side grade buff nerf. Okay, people think this is a bigger nerf than it is. Her headshot damage when you step on a trap, she'll do less damage, but when she just shoots you and headshots you with her passive, that's when she gets the chunk and it like shoots you with the passive every number of autos. That damage is getting buffed. Now, even though the trap damage is going down, the headshot damage is going up. So it's definitely a side grade, and it's not the total buff that I think Riot wanted. Yeah, Leona is getting her passive damage buffed. I don't agree with this one, Riot, and I'm just gonna spitball here. Instead of doing this one, because you guys have one day, okay, let me actually throw you a suggestion here. Make Leona's W give a 5% health shield if she hits an enemy champion, and an additional 2.5% health shield for each additional champion hit. I think Leona right now is actually a bit too squishy, and I think giving her a giant shield, if she like runs into the middle of an opposing team and does that, I think she should be a bit tankier to actually like be an engaged champion. I don't think we should be buffing her damage, because see, right, the problem here is all you guys continuously do is buff damage. I'm going to try to be the fun police, because you guys clearly need the fun police. The fun police is a guy that says you can't do that, that's a bad, you can't do that, right? Okay, so as the fun police, please don't just keep buffing everyone's damage. Okay, I know I keep saying this every single patch video, but the thing is, I'm saying it every patch video because I'm saying it every patch video. Because I keep saying don't buff every champion's damage, that means they keep buffing every champion's damage. Do you see the problem here? Okay. So Corki is, or sorry, no, that's the other one. Bel'Veth is getting her AD growth reduced, her health growth reduced, her E, that's her damage reduction bullshit most broken ability ever added into the game ability, she's getting that cooldown increased at the max level. Her E lifesteal is being reduced to 20% flat instead of 20 to 26%. And the amount of health she gets from damage from her ultimate is going from 165 to 120% bonus AD. So Bel'Veth is seeing a massive nerf to all her scaling, basically. Bel'Veth is monstrously overpowered right now. Just absolutely disgustingly overpowered, particularly at the low ranks. So Riot is trying to knock down that low rank. And by the way, my camera's up here because this is formatted absolutely terribly. I've had to read through this a lot. Trust me, the formatting is awful, and I'm sure you guys have noticed that. So my camera's up here because if I put it down here, it would cut some stuff off. And yeah, okay. So yeah, Bel'Veth's just getting a massive scaling nerf. Senna is getting her base health reduced by another 30. So since the durability update gave everyone 70 HP, hers has now been reduced by 60. Fun please here, Riot. You can't just keep making every champion squishier and doing more damage. That's why we needed the durability update. Her Q damage is going down in the early game by 10, up in the late game by 10, and her root duration is going from 1.25 to 2.25 to 1 to 2. So her root duration is going down by 0.25 at all ranks. Her early game is getting nerfed substantially. Basically, Riot is still not admitting that having a hard scaling support that can double as an AD carry is a bad idea, and instead they're just nerfing her early game. How much are they refusing to admit that this is a bad idea? They're nerfing Tahm Kench. I want to remind everybody, Tahm Kench in bot lane is monstrously overpowered, basically breaking the game. But here's the thing, he literally only plays with Senna. 9,455 games with Senna, 64 with Seraphine, 77 with Ashe. He only bots with Senna, and he's very overpowered because Senna breaks the game. Her balance is terrible. So what are they doing? Are they rebalancing Senna to potentially make it so Tahm Kench Senna isn't broken? No, they're just nerfing Tahm Kench. That's it. They're literally just nerfing Tahm Kench. Why are they nerfing Tahm Kench? Because he's so broken in support with a 1% pick rate and 48% pick rate. Some of you might be saying, oh, but what about in top lane? In Tahm Kench, he has a high win rate in top lane. If you actually go look at it, his win rate might be pretty good, but his pick rate is not really that good. And here's the thing, his win rate and pick rate aren't really that out of line with where Shen is, just as one example. So giving him this massive nerf of reducing the bonus health on his passive from 4 to 3 and reducing his health growth by 6 doesn't really seem warranted here, right? Particularly when he's only overpowered in bot lane because of Senna. So you're potentially eliminating him as a top lane viable champion because of Senna in bot lane. Do you see the issue here? Senna in bot lane should not be destroying Tahm Kench in top lane. Okay, let's move on. Zeri is getting her movement speed reduced on her ultimate from 1% to 0.5%. Remember, it used to be like 2 to 3% or some shit. So if she now, and I've looked at Zeri, typically like after she's done stacking her passive, it'll be up to like 50 stacks. So instead of getting 50% movement speed at the end of a team fight, she'll get 25%, which is still a lot, but hardly anything to write home about. It's not like she's not going back to the 600 movement speed Zeri that's just fucking roller skating around murdering everyone. Zeri is still going to be overpowered. Again, Zeri is balanced at like, at Kled Plus, she's really balanced at like a 46 to 47% win rate. At Masters Plus, she's really balanced at like a 48% win rate. Her win rate is still like 3% too high, and this change isn't going to do that. She does way too much damage, and in my opinion, while we're not going to be in the whichever team has Zeri automatically wins the game mode anymore, we are still going to be in the whichever team has Zeri is basically going to win the game mode. That's kind of how I feel, and her ban rate speaks to that. Her ban rate is absolutely absurd. Even at Masters Plus, at all ranks, she has the 3rd highest ban rate, only below the monstrously broken Bel'Veth, who, by the way, look at Bel'Veth's nerfs. Scaling nerf, scaling nerf, scaling nerf, scaling nerf, scaling nerf. Here's Bel'Veth, she gets some less movement speed. And Yuumi, who we'll go over Yuumi in a second. Wukong, his E now does less damage to monsters. Now remember, Wukong's E has like, 80 base damage? So instead of 160% damage to monsters, it's going to be 120%. So it'll do, what is that, 20% times 80? So it'll do 16 bonus damage to monsters. Ryan, why even leave that in the game anymore? Ooh, you might as well write on the tooltip, this ability does 16 bonus damage to monsters. Who gives a shit? His R cooldown is going up in the early game. I don't think this is going to be nearly enough. Wukong jungle is still disgustingly overpowered. This is not nearly enough, right? Not nearly enough. Not even close to enough. If you remove the entirety of his damage to monsters and you maybe like reduced some of his early game damage, or maybe you left the damage to monsters but you reduced his early game damage, maybe reduced his base damage by 2 or some shit. But right, come on. A champion should not be the highest pick rate and a high win rate and one of the highest ban rates. you know it's an issue beyond, yeah, let's make him deal a little bit less damage to monsters and increase his early game ult cooldown. Yay, balance forever. Okay, Senna is overpowered in bot lane, or sorry, Seraphine is overpowered in bot lane because of Senna, so they are nerfing Seraphine's AP ratio. Now, I was talking about this E thing. I said they should start at 1.25 seconds. They went to 1.5 from 1. Yes, 1.25. They're going down to 1.25. That's what I said they should do. 1.25 seemed about right to me. 1.5 was way too long. So she'll only slow stun root you for 1.25, not 1.5 now. So Rylai's Seraphine will no longer be spamming out AoE 1.5 second stuns. The AP ratio on her passive is going from 6 to 9. Haha, 69. Nice, to just 7% flat. So her late game is seeing a nerf and her E cooldown is seeing a nerf. Here's my opinion. If you actually go look at it, oh boy, I'm gonna have to find it. If you look at Seraphine, yeah, she's really overpowered, but here's the thing. 7,229 of her games are played with Senna. A mere 2,391 are played with Ashe as the number 2. No one comes near the win rate and pick rate of Seraphine and Senna. Let me be blunt here, right? It's Senna. It's a Senna problem. Senna is the problem. Senna is a problem with half of bot lane right now. Please, I beseech you, I plead with you, I'm begging you, Riot. Please, just destroy this champion for the good of the game. Riot August, I know this is your pet champion and you love her. She is fucking over so many other champions right now. In this patch, you've had to destroy Seraphine and Tahm Kench just because of Senna. It's a problem, okay? You need an intervention. Yuumi's passive range is going down from 50 to 0. Now, that's bop and block. When Yuumi would bop someone and get the shield, she went to 555 range instead of 500. Now, for anyone who plays bot lane AD or anyone who plays any champion at all, you would know the difference between 550 range and 500 range is extremely noticeable, particularly in the laning phase. This means that Yuumi can no longer walk up and get the shield off the opposing AD carry or support so freely. This is actually a massive nerf to Yuumi. That's really all I have to say. This is a massive nerf to Yuumi. So that's it for the hotfix. Now we're going to talk about the actual changes themselves. Now, again, these changes aren't going to come out. The hotfix is going to come out tomorrow, but these actual changes aren't going to come out for about 2 weeks. So I'm going to give you a bit more thought on that one. And I've gone through this in my head. So Renekton is getting a 10% bonus AD ratio on his ultimate, which is fine. Here's what's not fine. His ultimate is 120 cooldown flat. This needs to be 120, 110, 100. Particularly in the late game, it is way too easy to walk away from Renekton when he ultimates, and because half your buffs on Renekton have been on his ultimate, buffing the damage per second on his ultimate, now giving his ultimate damage per second an AD ratio, right, you need to reduce a cooldown, so if he misfires it or he gets kited out of it or anything like that, you need to make it so that he's not just useless for the next 2 minutes. Even with Gore Drinker, even with stacking ability haste, he can't just be useless for 2 minutes, right? Elise is getting more health growth, more armor, which is, good, right? You're finally noticing that not every champion should be the squishiest glass cannon on the planet. There should actually be champions who are medium tanky and damaging. Wow, good job. Her human damage in her Q, that's when she goes, I think I actually did a pretty good impression on that one. That one's going up by 20 at max rank. Okay, Evelynn, so when she's in her passive, she can heal up to a certain amount of health based on her AP ratio. That amount is going, the amount she can heal up to is not going up, but the amount she heals per second into the later game is going up a lot. However, her W magic resist shred is going to 35 to 45%. That's right, Evelynn will have a 45% magic resist shred. Right? Have you stopped to think about this for a second? If you have 55% of your remaining magic resist because of Evelynn's W, and then she also has Void Staff, that leaves you with 33% of your magic resist. In other words, if you have 200 magic resist against Evelynn, you will have 66 from 200. Riot. That is a bad change, and you know that's a bad change, so why are you doing it? Her R now sets her passive on a 1.25 second cooldown so she can get out of combat and heal easier, but Riot, can we please talk? This is stupid. You can keep the passive heal, you can keep her ultimate putting her in passive better, those are fine. You could even go ahead and maybe even reduce the cooldown of her ult. I don't give a shit. No champion should have a 45% magic resist shred. No champion should be allowed to ever put you at 33% of your magic resist. That is stupid. You know that's stupid. You need to stop. Okay, Fiddlesticks' Q duration is going up. That's fine. His R damage is going up. That's not fine. You can't just say, oh no, Fiddlesticks can't one-shot everyone. Let's buff his ability to one-shot everyone. Then what was the point of a durability update? I actually went ahead and looked at this. You, before the durability update, buffed his W from 30 to 50% healing to 30 to 70% healing. Here's my opinion. Instead of doing this ult buff, which is stupid and you should not do, keep the fear change. That's fine. I don't like it, but it's fine. Either give him more healing on his W, because you reduced it to 55%. It's now 25 to 55%. Either give him back some more healing on his W, or alternatively, and here's my opinion, make it so that knocking him out of his W, like CCing him in his W, doesn't put it on this giant ass, not that one, this giant ass fuck you cooldown. Okay? If the channel was not interrupted, 60% of the remaining cooldown is refunded. Make it so that like 30% of the remaining cooldown, or even 40 or even 50% of the remaining cooldown is refunded if he gets CC'd. Because the thing is, if he gets CC'd before the end of it, he doesn't deal this last tick of damage. This last tick of damage that has the missing health damage, that has this bonus damage, this is where he does that giant ka-chunk of damage, right? The giant burst, and then the heal. If he gets CC'd out of it, that's bad enough, because then he needs to go back and try to channel another one. Okay, and it takes 2 seconds to channel. So if he gets knocked out of it, that's the punishment. Go back, instead of buffing his ult damage, maybe give him a little bit, instead of buffing his ult damage, maybe give him a little bit more armor or more magic resist so he can be a bit tankier and you know, harder to kill, right? But in my opinion, give it something so that if his channel is interrupted, he gets like 40% of the remaining cooldown refunded. That's my opinion. Okay, because Fiddlesticks should be weak to being interrupted, but it shouldn't just be like, you CC'd Fiddlesticks in his drain. Like, I play Aatrox, okay? And I tell you, if you interrupt Fiddlesticks in his drain, here's what he does. He just runs around like this. Because he can't do anything. That's all he can do. He's fucking dead. He's doomed, okay? So, that's a better change, right? Kled's AD ratio on his Q is going up from 60 plus 120 to 65 plus 130. Here's my opinion. I actually think this is a good idea. You might say I'm being hypocritical on this one, but here's the thing. If you look at the health at level 18 of basically any champion, Kled comes out to 3,258. The next highest is Silas with 3,788. Kled is tanky, and he also has a lot of armor. He has a good chunk of armor and the most health in the game. Now I understand that there's 2 health pools, but the simple fact is he is way tankier than like any other champion. And he has a good chunk of armor to go along with that. You can't really make him tankier. The problem is, we look back at his patch history. Back in Season 6, when he was added, his Q damage has not changed. While his EAD ratio has gone up a little bit, his WAD ratio hasn't gone up. And his E base damage has gone up a little bit, but otherwise he really hasn't been changed. This 390 plus 180%, it's basically been that since it was added 6 years ago. This is supposed to be one of the hardest hitting abilities in League of Legends. And let's be blunt, it's not one of the hardest hitting abilities in League of Legends anymore. In fact, I would argue that a lot of champions can just eat 2 or 3 bear traps on a rope and practically not even notice anymore. It just hasn't kept up with power creep. Even Aatrox, if we look at Aatrox, Aatrox, if he crit his 3rd Q, used to do the same damage as about the entire bear trap on a rope. Once that got buffed, it was doing more damage than bear trap on a rope. So I actually do agree with this change. This does keep him up with the power creep. I do agree. And he's one of the few champions I actually do think he needs to get his damage buffed, because he just doesn't deal any damage right now. In addition to that, his W cooldown is going down from 12 to 6 to 11 to 5, which is substantial. Because remember, it's going to be 11 to 5, whereas previously it was 14 to 8. So at the rank 5, that's way lower, allowing him to get off 2 violent tendencies in a fight way more consistently. And in the early game, from 14 to 11 means that if he uses it on minions, or if he uses it in a fight, he's not just sort of left sitting around not able to do much for very long periods of time. Karthus is getting more armor and health. Once again, I think this is a good one. Karthus was a bit too squishy. When he couldn't kill people with a couple Qs, he just ended up being way too squishy. He gets more health, so he can get into a better position in a team fight, live longer to get a few more damage off. I think the health growth +9 might be a little bit too much, but I'm kind of fine with the armor growth. It was a bit too easy. Despite the fact that he does good sustain damage, it was actually a bit too easy, shockingly, after the durability update, for basically every champion to just get on top of him and beat the shit out of him. And then if he did run into a team fight and die, and even in a good position, he went from like killing 2 champions to none, and people would just walk away from him. Taliyah's getting a bit more damage back on her Q, which is fine. She's getting her Q mana cost reduced, which again is fine. Her Q2 now stuns monsters, so she can jungle better. And her ultimate no longer goes on cooldown when she damages a ward or a trap. All these things are fine. It's not really a big deal, actually. These are kind of just small tune-ups to make jungle Taliyah a bit more playable, and to just sort of give her back a little bit of strength that they stole. Galio, I disagree with entirely. Okay, so they're buffing the vortex of his Q. That's when, you know, he goes, and then there's like the choo, 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 choo. That's the exact sound effect. Trust me on that one. That's when, you know, it's tornado. So here's the thing with Galio, right? His passive cooldown is 5. His Q cooldown is 10 at max rank. His W cooldown is 16 at max rank. His ultimate cooldown is 160. His E cooldown is 8. These are too long. Instead of buffing his Q damage and trying to return him to being able to one-shot every champion, which is stupid, put his Q to a 12 to 8 second cooldown. And I know what you're going to say, oh, but Hashinshin, then support Galio will be stronger. We can't buff support Galio. That would be awful. Okay, support Galio doesn't max Q. I don't think even mid Galio maxes Q right now. By putting it to a 12 to 8 second cooldown, you make Galio scale better, which is good. Galio kind of like scaling right now, to be blunt, and you put him at more DPS so he can deal with champions who heal and shield a bit better. 12 to 8 seconds wouldn't kill anyone. It would just make it an ability that you could potentially use twice. And I don't think that just giving him more damage is a good idea, because it's not a good idea. Right, just to be clear, that's not a good idea. Just so everyone understands that that's a bad idea. You don't just buff every champion's damage, okay, Riot? Vex is getting her Q cooldown reduced and her Q AP ratio increased. So once again, I'm actually fine with this damage increase, because Vex actually, so before the patch, before the entire durability update, even with the old Ignite, Vex would struggle to kill champions that healed and shielded a lot. And now, if I fight Vex, I literally just laugh, because she just doesn't have a way to kill healing and shielding anymore. So I think giving her a lower cooldown and a higher AP ratio gives her way more sustain damage, which will help her actually deal with the fact that if champions heal, now healing and shielding should be her weakness, but it shouldn't be that you can literally straight up out heal her. That's a problem. Look, being weak to healing and shielding is fine, and she will still be weak to healing and shielding. That's the natural counter of a burst champion, right? But the problem is, she literally could not punch through, and she literally couldn't do damage to champions that healed and shielded. This Master Yi change. Okay, so Master Yi is going up auto attack range. Stupid, hate it. Not gonna mention it anymore. Do not do this. Do not give Master Yi 175 range. That is supposed to be the bonus of Juggernauts. It is not supposed to be a Master Yi thing, okay, right? It's already bad enough on Bel'Veth. Alpha Strike, he can now choose the direction he wants to appear at relative to the target. So instead of always appearing behind them, he can now choose to appear which direction. Now, I think that's probably good. It removes some counterplay, but to be honest, Master Yi was bad enough at the high ranks that removing some counterplay is probably fine. This Meditate thing, though, I'm a bit sketched out on. Meditate's cooldown is going from 28 to 9, but its mana cost is going from a flat 50 to 40 plus 6% max mana per second, so you cannot sit and meditate for very long or you'll yourself. The damage reduction during the first the first 0.5 seconds of meditate, now it's 90% damage reduction, so you can use it as a sort of like shing parry. You can be like parry. So that increases his skill cap, it makes him more interesting. Probably gonna make him a bit overpowered, we'll see. But here's where I really worry. The W damage reduction always lingers for 0.5 seconds after W ends. So the problem here is Master Yi can literally parry, cancel his parry instantly, get the 90% damage reduction, parry burst. Like, if he sees a Vex combo coming at him, he can just shing, parry it, then go back to one-shotting her. If he sees an Aatrox Q, he can parry the third Q, then just go back to killing him. If, you know, he sees... I don't even know, like anything. Like if he sees a Jax Counter-Strike, he can just meditate, you know what I mean? Like, it's a bit too much, right? For a champion whose only weakness is supposed to be a CC or a burst, you're kind of removing that weakness and you're giving way too much power to Master Yi. I don't think it'll be fun when fighting against Master Yi is often going to come down to hope he doesn't parry at the right time, haha. Okay. So Olaf is being obliterated. I don't know what this is. They're saying they're buffing Olaf jungle, but all they're doing is they're returning the majority of his attack speed at level 1. Wasn't it like 20 to 100%? Now it's 40 to 100%. Now it's 60 to 100%. So he's going to get the majority of his attack speed at level 1 again. But then they're nerfing his health growth from 8.5 to 6.5. And then the growth from 0.9 to 0.6. So Hullbreaker Olaf is seeing a big nerf because the health regen is going down. His health regen growth is going down. Then his Q mana cost is going from 40 to 60 to 50 to 70. Riot, what the fuck? What are you doing? So you're utterly obliterating Olaf top out of existence. It basically isn't playable as is. All to try to get jungle Olaf to be playable, which it won't be. Why? I actually ask you, right, why? Wasn't the entire point of this change to get top Olaf to be viable, but now you're just bringing him back into a shitty jungler? What was the point of doing this update? To give Olaf like 1 month of being playable and then you just shit on him until he's dead? That's a terrible death, right? Don't shit on Olaf until he dies. Okay. Let's go to the next one. By the way, Olaf top needs to be buffed, not nerfed. Just to be clear, it needs to be buffed. It's underpowered right now. Let's go to the nerfs. So Corki's getting his AD ratio buffed on his Gatling gun, the giga. The AD ratio on that is going up, but the AP ratio and the flat damage on his ultimate is going down. I'm assuming this is because Luden's Echo was a bit overpowered, and there were some issues with that. Okay. Volibear is getting, oh boy, Volibear is getting obliterated, which is potentially fair. Here's Volibear at Plat Plus. Here's Volibear at all ranks. Here's Volibear at Masters Plus. Volibear has some issues right now, and I can't say I hate these changes, but I think they might be going a bit too far. The movement speed from his Q is going down by 2% flat. So the movement speed towards enemies is going to be a mere 16 to 48%, which is very low compared to what it used to be, and very low period. I don't know if I agree with that one, because it's kind of, it's shifting him from getting movement speed items on Volibear is good to you must get movement items on Volibear or you will never get in range. I'm not sure I agree with that. The Q flat damage is going down by 10, which is okay. The W bonus HP ratio is going down from 6% to 5%, which is arguably fine. Tank Volibear was way outperforming, and that seems like a good area to hit him, to hit his health ratio, so that Tank Volibear performs a bit worse. His W base damage is going down by 5. His E percent health damage is going down by 2, and then the damage he does to jungle monsters for the Z is going down by 100. So taken as a whole, this is pretty brutal. His Q, W, and E damage are all going down. His Q movement speed is also going down, and then he's also going to jungle slower. I'm just saying, right, this is some of the harshest nerfs. While like one at a time, these aren't too bad. When you nerf every single ability on a champion, it does start to add up. And particularly when you nerf the movement speed of a champion who relies on movement speed, yeah. Okay, that's all I'm gonna say on that. It might be too much, okay? Then we're gonna go down here. Gwen, I'll go over the Gwen rework and maybe our own video. Sivir, I'll go over the Sivir rework and maybe our own video. Lethality mythics are getting 5 movement speed per lethality item, which is... This seems most useful for ranged champions, so they're nerfing Eclipse's damage on ranged champions, which is fine, in my opinion, actually. Divine Sunder is being changed from 12% max health damage to 6% max health damage, but with a 125% bonus, or say, base AD ratio. Now, I did do the math. This means it's going from a 6% heal to a 3.9% heal, based on your opponent's HP, but then it will also be healing on 81% of your base AD. A lot of people have done the math on this. Basically, it's a buff on some champions like Jax who have high base AD. It seems to be a nerf on some champions like Wukong that have low base AD. I'm not really sure. We'll have to see. Basically, Divine Sunder will be an anti-tank item, but it won't be an anti-tank fucker. It won't be a tanks literally can no longer play the game item. It will no longer be a, if they have Divine Sunder as a tank, you literally cannot deal damage to them anymore item, which is good. That's really good. Actually, I like it more as being a healing item that is based on like sustaining your way through a fight and happens to be decent against tanks. Like, I like that. It's nice to have it as a somewhat anti-tank focus. That's fine, but utterly obliterating tanks and rendering them unplayable if you can go Divine Sunderer, that's not fine. And I think it's good that Riot is finally taking the time to address it. So this is good. This is a good change. Actually, I like this. So overall, I like most of these, but again, this is my feedback on what Riot could do better. Do you agree? Do you disagree? What do you think about this? Give me your feedback. Do you agree or disagree with anything I said? Thank you. Anyway, so that's the end of the video. Thank you to my Patreon supporters. Make sure to go into the description in the link, or the link in the description. You can join my Patreon for as little as $3 a month. You can support me, help me pay my rent. You can send me messages on Patreon, which I answer, which is always nice. You can help me decide videos, give me feedback, all that stuff, and it supports me immensely. Special shout out to my YouTube members. Thank you guys. You guys are wonderful. Special thank you to everybody who gets this far in the video. Thank you for watching. I enjoy your company. Yes, thank you. And I hope everybody has a great rest of your day. Goodbye, everyone.